what were some? I mean, aside from Steve Jobs, who were some of the other like well-known people that you've actually coached?
Well, I was mentored by Konstantin Gratsos, the CEO of NASA Shipping Lines, who is the great friend for 60 years of Aristotle Onassis. I have been exposed to Ken Langone. I've known for 25 years, who's the founder of Home Depot. I've known, God, I'm embarrassed that he just died, Ross Perot. So I've known Bunker Hunt. I've known Sid and Perry Bass, the billionaires from Texas. So I've known a lot of guys, and they all, Boone Pickens, who's still alive. 35 or 38 years ago, I was in a meeting, and I'm trying to make this deal, you know. And he says, Danny, he says, if you want to make a deal bad enough, you'll do a bad deal. And that resonated like to this day, because whenever I think I'm pushing too hard on a dead dog, I realize it's a dead dog. I'm not going to breathe life back into it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Kenneth Langone.
Yes, sir.
I just saw a 60 Minutes special on him. Well, it was really about NYU Medical School.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Langone Medical School.
Yeah, right. And well, he's the chairman of I forgot what it's called, but the trustees, who help out. And he was actually the one. He donated $150 million of his own money, and then raised another $350 million. And NYU is the first medical school that's actually tuition free moving forward. He helped put together $500 million so every medical student at NYU does not have to pay anything.
And coincidentally, tonight I'm having dinner with a mentee of Ken Langone's, a guy named Robert Donato. And when they were going to NYU together and they were poor, they used to borrow 25-cent pieces from each other so they could get home on the subway back in the late 60s when they were going to school there. But Ken's a great guy. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, it's a game changer because most people who go to medical school don't go and practice in poor neighborhoods or do general medicine because they're trying to pay back
the debt,
$2,000,000 worth of debt, and they're not going to do that pursuing their passion of helping people.
Yeah.
As well as most minorities don't actually go to medical school because they feel they can't afford it and so forth and so forth. So this is like changing the whole playing field of how it's working. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Ken's a great guy.
Right, and you said Boone Pickens?
Boone Pickens.
Yeah, another titan.
T. Boone Pickens.
T. Boone Pickens. That's one of the major stock investors of all time.
Oh, yeah. He believed in gas over oil way before it was fashionable. And I was drilling with Bunker Hunt 25,000 foot test wells in Oklahoma, and 25,000 is pretty deep for onshore. And we drilled one dry hole, and I had 5% of the well, each well. And these are $20 million pops. So I'm having to come up with 5% of $20 million each time. Drill one dry hole, 2 dry holes, 3 dry holes, 4 dry holes. I'm about ready to go bankrupt, and they decide, well, this must not be a gas play, and they close it down. And it took me 3 or 4 years to pay off the 5% of those wells. They didn't chase me for the money or anything. Danny's good for it. I wasn't good for it. That's the point. But I was part of the group. But when you're in a group like that, and they say, Danny, are you in? Yes, sir. I never said no. It cost me a lot of money sometimes, but I never said no.
Gotcha. Well, there was a situation at the University of Florida.
Oh, yes.
Where a student started to kind of heckle you.
Not kind of. He did.
Okay. You threatened
it's online, yeah.
Yeah, you threatened to break his neck?
Like a pencil.
Okay.
But I didn't touch him. I pulled the microphone out of his hand, and then I looked at all the witnesses, and I said, well, then, I went back to the podium, and then they wanted to throw him out, the people there, and then the security guards came, and I finally ended my talk, or the Q&A part, early. And but the security guards, to their credit, said, if you step out in the lobby, Mr. Peña, that's not school property. You can finish your Q&A out there. And so I did, and I went out there. But the little kid, I'm glad I didn't hit him.
I mean, do you think, with a lot of the people that you seem to look up to, it's the whole tough as nails, by any means necessary. If we have to,
As long as legal, moral,
yeah,
ethical.
exactly. But when you look at today's environment with the Me Too movement, with the lawsuits and everything else like that, society's become a lot more soft.
Softer, gentler.
Softer and gentler. And a lot of the stuff that you may think, which did work in the past, now is like a headache, lawsuits, and somewhat frowned upon.
Yeah, but it still works.
But it still works.
People ask me, why are you so fucking tough on everybody? Because it still works. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. There's only, you said point, and then you said 5 zeros. It's actually 6 zeros. The sacrifices to become when you got no money. My system doesn't work if you have money. It's easier. It's a different system. You've got no money. You're dirt poor. You're from Ukraine or from Detroit or wherever the hell. This system still works today. It works today. But it works if you can stay focused. And the way to keep people focused, I'm like the kind of Coach Belichick or Bobby Knight in basketball or Woody Hayes back in football. I choke them. And if you don't want to be choked, don't come and see me. In the 90s, I used to hit kids in the seminar.
Really?
Physically. Smack them around. And now I don't do that. Everybody's got a fucking phone, iPhone. I don't mind, you don't like it, let's go out in the parking lot, asshole. But at my age, too. And so, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it still works. The system bloody still works. As I alluded to before we got on air, the 2 board meetings, I created 2 instant millionaires yesterday. From a 22-year-old kid and a 37-year-old kid. But they worked their butts off. And this was the culmination of that, those board meetings. And there was about 300 years of experience in the board on one of the boards and about 225 years of experience. They've got no experience, but they're the board members, the accountants, the lawyers, the industry experts. And but it's right. It's not everybody's cup of tea.
Well, your first book was called Your First 100 Million.
Correct.
What is the key to your first 100 million?
The key, again, it's focus and do what you love. And I loved the oil business back in the day. And forevermore, I'm called an oil man. I'm not. I didn't know anything about oil. Of course, now, 30 plus years later, I know a lot about oil. And I can smell a good deal or a bad deal. But it's about focus and doing what you love. And it's set out in the system. Now, the system, because that book's 10 years old now. Mm-hmm. And I've had 2 editions, but even the second edition is, I think, 10 years old. But it's now all refined on my website for free. And I also have the audio. I updated the book last year on audio, which I would never do again. I read every page and then I go, author's note. And what a pain. I had no idea how much work that would be. But Kat, who interfaced with your guys, convinced me I should do it. If you're not going to write one, you got to do an updated audio. And so now I have an updated audio, and the kids can get it, and the information, it's all bloody free. I enjoy. I didn't realize how much time it was going to free up our office giving away the product and not selling it.
Yeah.
Because this doesn't work, or it didn't come, or it got lost in the mail, or blah blah blah.
Well, listen, Dan Peña, at 74 years old, it doesn't look like you're slowing down at all.
That's correct.
I think at this point, people are usually just playing with their grandkids and watching TV.
Well, I have 2 grandchildren, a grandson that was just born about a year ago, and a granddaughter who's 3.5. And but I'm not that kind of person. I love my grandkids, but to sit and bounce them on my knee for any length of time is not me.
I think we should all be so lucky that at 74 years old, still going strong, still doing what you love to do,
yep.
and still helping other people
yep.
achieve their dreams. It's the American dream, honestly, is what I see in front of me. So
Thank you.
I definitely appreciate you coming in and
sharing
your wisdom.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Until next time.
Okay, it's a wrap.
Peace.
As they say.